Concerns about voter suppression and alleged election malpractice have been significant in recent US elections, particularly in battleground states. Voter suppression refers to tactics used to prevent or discourage certain groups of people from voting. These tactics can take various forms, and the Republican Party has been accused of implementing some of these strategies in recent elections. Common allegations of voter suppression in battleground states.
Voter ID laws. Republican-led states have passed strict voter ID laws requiring specific types of identification to vote. Critics argue that these laws disproportionately affect minority, low-income, and elderly voters, who may be less likely to have the required IDs.
Purging voter rolls. Some states have aggressively purged voter rolls, removing people who have not voted in recent elections or who appear to have moved. While this is sometimes framed as a way to prevent voter fraud, opponents argue that it often results in eligible voters, particularly minorities, being improperly removed.
Polling place closures and reductions. In many battleground states, there have been significant reductions in the number of polling places, particularly in minority communities. This can lead to long wait times and greater difficulty in accessing voting locations, potentially discouraging turnout.
Voter registration restrictions. Some states have implemented more stringent requirements for voter registration, such as limiting third-party voter registration drives or rejecting registrations based on minor errors.
Limiting mail-in voting. Especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a sharp increase in mail-in voting. Some Republican-led states attempted to limit mail-in voting by reducing the availability of mail-in ballots, requiring notarization of ballots, or limiting drop-off locations.
6. Gerrymandering is the manipulation of electoral district boundaries to favor one party over another. This is not new, but it's often cited as a long-term strategy that impacts the fairness of elections, especially in battleground states. 7. There have been efforts to challenge the legitimacy of ballots, especially those cast in areas with high minority populations. These challenges can lead to legitimate votes being thrown out. Allegations of election malpractice are also tied to broader actions perceived as undermining the democratic process. Disinformation campaigns. There have been allegations that some Republican operatives have engaged in disinformation campaigns, particularly on social media, to mislead voters about the voting process. Intimidation and harassment. Reports have surfaced of voters, particularly in minority communities, being intimidated or harassed at polling places by poll watchers or other individuals linked to Republican efforts. Legal challenges to election results. In recent elections, the GOP has been involved in numerous legal challenges aiming to invalidate election results in battleground states, often based on unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud. These tactics have been met with widespread criticism from voting rights advocates, civil rights groups, and many political leaders who argue that they undermine the integrity of the electoral process and disproportionately impact vulnerable communities. However, Republicans often defend these measures as necessary to ensure the integrity of elections and prevent voter fraud, though evidence of widespread fraud has been minimal. The debate over these practices remains a significant issue in US politics, with ongoing legal battles and legislative efforts on both sides of the aisle.